can ancient texts, like really ancient ones, actually predict what's happening, well, right now? It sounds like a huge question, doesn't it? But that's exactly what we're jumping into today. We're doing a deep dive into some specific biblical and Enochic verses from the Charles Thomson Bible and the Urim Thummim version, and we're using J. Barton Payne's literal grammatical framework to see, well, to see if there's predictive stuff that's not just random chance. Connecting it all to today, June 28, 2025.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that Payne methodology a bit. He was all about a normal interpretation, like take the text literally. Grammar, history, the basics, not looking for hidden codes or, allegories everywhere. He identified, what was it, over 8,300 predictive verses.
Oh, that many?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
And he expected them to have, real-world verifiable fulfillments, synthesizing prophecies, looking for actual events.
So why these specific texts, the Thomson Bible and the UTV, how do they fit with Payne's literal approach? Well,
it's interesting. The sources we looked at highlight how they align. Thomson used the Septuagint, which was historically hugely important. And the UTV, it's unique because it includes the Book of Enoch.
Right, Enoch. That adds another dimension.
Exactly. It brings in those pre-flood narratives, the Nephilim discussions, the sources mentioned. It gives a broader scope for prophetic inquiry, but still within that literal framework Payne advocated.
Okay, so applying that lens.
Yeah.
What key themes pop up again and again in these texts? What are the non-random patterns our research found?
Well, there are a few big ones. There's a really strong theme of divine judgment and restoration. You see it right from Genesis, like by death you shall die, through to prophets like Jeremiah talking about a global return for the Israelites, but after judgment.
Well, Jerusalem seems central too.
Absolute central. Zechariah 12, it's quite stark. I will indeed make Jerusalem a cup of reeling, a burdensome stone for all people. Plus, you have Ezekiel 38 and 39, the whole Gog-Magog invasion scenario against Israel in the last days. Jerusalem's right at the heart of it.
And then the signs of the end idea.
Yes, the birth pangs, as Matthew 24 puts it. Nation will rise against nation, famines and pestilences and earthquakes, all described as just the beginning of sorrows.
Okay, so the sources are drawing these lines from ancient texts to right now. But, for you listening, maybe thinking, can't you always find patterns? What makes these connections genuinely non-random, according to this approach?
That's the critical question, really. It's not just finding isolated patterns. The sources frame it based on Payne's literal method, focusing on an interconnected sequence of events. So looking at today, June 28th, 2025, the parallels are presented as quite specific. Geopolitically, the material flags this Israel-Iran war of 2025. It calls it existential and unfinished.
Prophecy collides with power, I think was the phrase used.
Precisely. And that's seen as resonating with nations gathering against Israel, but also broader things like NATO intercepting Russian planes, the U.S.-China trade tensions, fitting that nation against nation theme.
And beyond geopolitics.
Economically, the sources point to global downturns, trade friction, inflation ticking up, maybe 2.3 to 2.7% back in May. Parallels to famines and distress. Societally, too. Things like the controversy mentioned around RFK Jr.'s vaccine policy or the Budapest Pride event defying a ban. The sources connect these to prophetic ideas of commotions and, interestingly, false teachers arising in the last days.
It's quite a mix of major events and, well, societal friction.
Right. And what's really striking is seeing these huge potential shifts happening alongside everyday life, like the World Rugby U20 Championship going on. It echoes that days of Noah idea from Matthew, people eating and drinking, marrying, while momentous things unfold.
That days of Noah point.
Right.
Yeah, that really lands. How everyday life just continues amidst potentially massive shifts.
Exactly. So the sources argue it's not random chaos. It's a convergence suggesting something. Well, something divinely appointed, a non-random climax building.
It is genuinely something to consider, how these ancient texts might offer a framework, or at least a lens, for looking at what's happening globally right now.
And the specific prediction, filtered through that Payne lens, derived from the sources, is this. The Israel-Iran war of 2025 acts as a direct catalyst. A catalyst for forming, or at least revealing, that northern coalition, Gog and allies, against Israel, leading potentially quite rapidly to a much broader invasion.
So a lot to mull over. What stands out most to you from this deep dive? How might these ancient echoes be shaping our present, and maybe even our future?